Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Mile High Game Guys board gaming podcast. I'm your host Adrian.
And I'm Zach.
And there's no Jeff.
No Jeff.
Jeff has been called away on a grand adventure, and he's not dead. That makes it sound like he died. But yeah, Jeff is not here. He had to leave.
He's gone to a better place, except not really, because
it's Chicago, which is not better than Denver
Chicago.
In any way,
Correct.
shape, or form. I cannot wait to hear the feedback next week. It's going to be great.
Exactly. Yeah. Real glad that Paul isn't on now, right?
Yes. That would have been the next 2 hours. If we'd had Paul on as the guest to fill in for Jeff this week, the next 2 hours would be him going into excruciating detail about every single way that he thinks Chicago is better than Denver. And me just being like, I don't have proof, but you're wrong. Like, I can't prove it, but you're wrong.
No.
So, but yeah, so it's just going to be Zach and I tonight. Depending on how long Jeff is gone, we're not really sure how long it's going to be. We might have next week either Andrew or Paul or Wes or someone to fill in so we can keep that trio magic going. It was just a bit short notice to get someone this week. So now,
so this one will make you want that third person on the next episode.
This episode is going to remind everyone, after nearly 200 episodes, why Jeff is the glue that holds MHGG together.
Yeah.
So, without further ado, though, let's talk about board games, since this is a board gaming podcast, and let's talk about what we've been playing, because we've both actually played board games.
But not only is this a board gaming podcast, but it is a board gaming podcast sponsored
by our sponsors, Grey Fox Games. See, I skip a week, and this is what happens. But yeah, so do you want to start with maybe one of the games you've played, and then I'll do my game, and then you'll do another game you've played, and then we'll do Banter-y things?
Sounds good.
Cool.
Yeah, sounds good. This is a lot harder. Look at a screen and then also write down numbers. I don't understand how Jeff does it.
It's nearly impossible.
Nearly impossible. Last Saturday, so not this past one, but the one before that, some of us were getting together at Paul's house to play games. So it was me, Paul, and Wes, and Jeff was going to come. And then Wes and I got there within about 5 minutes of each other, and then per usual, it was like, well, Jeff will get here when Jeff gets here. And so we were just playing, so we started playing some small games while we were waiting for him. We played some cribbage. We played Cabo. We played Slide Quest, which you've played that one, right?
No? Slide Quest?
Okay. Slide Quest, yeah. So it's a pretty cool, little dexterity game where it is introduced to us by meanest man on Slack, Mike Jones.
Yeah. Terrible person.
Terrible, yeah. But it is, basically there are, suspended in the box, you take all the inside stuff of the box out, like the insert and whatnot, and you have a floating piece of cardboard in there, basically, or laminated paper, and you have these little bended plastic, arms, that is basically suspending it up, and as you lift one of them up, it sort of tilts in a different direction, and you have this little knight with a marble underneath it, that if you tilt in a direction, he slowly slides across the paper, right?
Yes. And
so I think there's 20 different scenarios. It's basically, you start at one, you start on the starting place of that on the piece of paper, and you have to follow this little track that goes, weaves through rocks and near pits, which are just holes in the paper that if he falls into, you lose a life. But you're trying to weave him around and make it to the end of that route, which so you'd be going from 1 to 2 and then 2 to 3, etc. And each of the different scenarios in there are some of it is you just have to follow the line. Some of them is you have to defeat enemies, which is basically they're little wooden enemy meatballs that you have to knock into the holes, but make sure you don't get knocked into the hole. Sometimes you have to push. There's little dynamites that you have to avoid or push them around without knocking them over. But it's a fun dexterity game, it's like everybody has a corner if you're playing with 4 people, or a side rather, and you're all trying to coordinate and trying to get him to slide where he wants. And when somebody accidentally like freaks out and like pushes it too hard, and then it starts cascading, and he's running around everywhere, and it's a pretty fun little game.
Okay.
Yeah. But we played that, and still no word from Jeff, and so we decided to say, fuck it, we'll just play something else. And we were trying to figure out what we wanted to play. We were thinking about doing 3-player Marvel, but then Wes was like, I don't feel like a cooperative game.
Yes.
And then we spent so much longer than we should have looking at all of Paul's games, trying to figure out what we wanted to play. And then basically we saw that he had the Orleans and its first expansion, Invasion, and we've eventually settled on that. And we're like, oh, the co-op scenario of that seems pretty cool. Why don't we try that? So we nixed co-ops until we saw that, and we're like, hey, let's do the co-op version. Have you played Orleans at all?
I think I sat down at one point to learn it, and then something came up at a game night. Like I had to go handle some business. And
Gotcha.
And I don't think I actually got to play. Like I vaguely remember learning some of the basic rules, and like I've definitely seen it played a lot at game night, but I don't think I've ever actually played.
Gotcha. But you know the basics of
Yes.
it, right? That it's a bag builder, and you have various tokens that you're putting in your bag, and you're putting them into your little playboard area that you then put them on specific spots and different combinations, and then it'll let you add more tokens to your bag. Or there's a board of France, I think.
Yes.
Which, yeah. And it'll let you move around, make little, basically, like little forts. And you're getting like, you're just getting points for doing that. And it's all about like who gets the most points at the end of the game, right?
Right.
But the co-op scenario is you're basically trying to stop an invasion from happening. And so at the start of the game, we are all cooperating. You use there's some sideboards that you use 2 completely new ones that are solely for the invasion scenario. And you have to, a big thing about Orleans is when you're when you're bag building, you start to add a lot of those tokens into your bag. And understandably, if you just keep adding tokens, you're just going to get overfilled with like everything. And so you can't try and focus on the things you want.
Yes.
And so one of the things you can do in that is you can place them. You can basically send them to another board, like your tokens, and then they're gone from your bag permanently, and you usually use them to get points. So this one we are sending them, and it's pretty thematic in the sense of like one of the things you have to do is you have to get a bunch of guards, and they have to man all the different outposts and stuff like that. So you're getting a lot of you're making a lot of guards and then sending them out. You also have to like pool food and money, and so these are things that you can get in the game, and you have to then send those items to the main board or to the sideboard in order to stockpile it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you also have to do a bunch of like everybody has their own personal quest, which is basically that's something that you have to fulfill in order for you to win. And actually, technically, everybody has to fulfill their own personal goal in order for you to win. And on top of everything else, and everyone's was unique. So like mine was I had to go up, I had to completely fill out the night track. I forget what it's actually called, but it's how you get knights. I had to go all the way to the top. And so each of the tokens that you get, there's only a finite amount of them. And so once you've used all of them, or once you've gained all of them, you can't take that action anymore. And so it was very much like everybody had that same sort of thing that you had to fill, but it was different. So it was all like, well, I have to focus on this one. You need to focus on this one. And it was I really felt the collaborative aspect of it, because it really felt like we were trying to plan all this together, because each round there are events that happen. You flip over an event at the start of each round, and then at the end of the round, for the most part, that's when it gets resolved.
Yeah.
So you have a little leeway in being able to plan for it. But like one of them was you have to get out of Orleans,
Orleans.
you have to get out of there, and or you're gonna have to owe money. And I had just spent a bunch of money on a previous event that let us get more wheat into our little warehouse.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like we were looking through it and it was like, oh shit, did we lose the game on this one? Because you had to be able to, if you couldn't fulfill certain things, you had to pay it with different items, or you would just lose the game if you couldn't fulfill it.
Yeah.
But we were able to figure out a way that on your, like, you get a little sideboard on your own player board that everybody can do that can help you interact with other players' boards. So it's either you can send them tokens if they need one, or you can use one of their abilities that they've lined out. And so I was able to be like, okay, well, I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do this action that lets me do your action, and his action and Wes's action was move, because he had the 4 money to pay that, but I did not. So I was able to use his action to move out, and so then I didn't have to pay the money, and he was able to do it, and so we were able to keep going.
Okay.
And near the end of the game, like his personal side quest was he needed to send a bunch of the different tokens that you get throughout the game onto the sideboard, and he was not able to get near as good an engine at getting these tokens as Paul and I were. So near the end of the game, we were just feeding them to him. So each round, we were just like, all right, I'm going to put this here and send this to you. Here you go, Wes. So we were able to make up for each other's shortcomings. And we were able to, one sort of thing that I like is that it's not like as soon as you fulfill like all the requirements you win, it's at the end of the 20th round, you have to be able to fulfill it. Because there are ways to hurt it. So like we ended up, on the 20th round, we just needed I needed to get Wes like one of the traders. And that's DER, not someone that betrays you.
Trader, not traitor.
Exactly. So I just needed to make sure that he got one of those, and there was, so I had a bunch of tokens out on my previous turn, and I was just like, well, I'm not going to do anything because this will greatly increase the chance that I can grab a trader to give to him. Because for like the last 4 rounds, it was just like, well, sorry, Wes, I didn't draw the guy that you needed. It's like, oh, let's try again. Oh, no, didn't do it, because at the end of each round, whichever tokens you've used, you throw them back into your bag. So so you can buy something and then theoretically never see it again. So that's why you don't want to put too many things in that bag, right?
Yes.
So we finished it. We won, and I can definitely see some replayability in there because of the different characters. All the ones that we chose, I think, all 3 of them were on the easier side. Because we're like, it's been a while since we played this. Wes had never, it's been a while since we'd played this in general, and we haven't tried the co-op at all. So let's just do some of the easier ones. And so now I definitely would want to try some of the harder, like the harder quests that you have to do. But I can see some replayability there, because that basically makes you have to, like, that you have to plan your entire game on that character, on fulfilling that quest, right?
Yes.
And so, I think like all of us really enjoyed it. At BGG Con, it was Lance, me, and Ofer. We played Orleans Stories, which is like sort of Legacy, not really. I think it's just a campaign, really. But oh boy, did we not like that. Because for that one, we were just playing a sort of regular game of Orleans, except you had to fulfill certain objectives at each time, and if you didn't, you just got eliminated from the game. And so I was a little hesitant on picking this one up, or on playing this one, because of that, but I had remembered enjoying regular Orleans enough that I was like, okay, I'm going to give this one a shot, and I ended up really liking the co-op scenario for it.
Okay.
And it is a shame that there's like only one scenario in there, but I don't know if the second expansion for Orleans has another co-op in there or not. But it's definitely like if you have the original game, the base game, definitely I would say get Invasion solely for the co-op, because it really enhanced the game for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right on. I'll have to.
So that's what I've been playing.
Yeah, I'll have to give that a shot. I know you guys spoke really highly of it back when you actually played it. along with lots of jokes about the other like shittier version. Paul made a best friend when you guys played that game.
Yes, he did.
No,
while we were playing that, he was playing something else, and he made a best friend.
Yes. So, yeah. I don't know. I've wanted to try Orleans for a while. Bag building isn't like super my most favorite thing ever, but it's also something I don't play a lot of. So, I would definitely want to play some.
I think that's part of like being hesitant, like, or maybe not really liking that feature. Playing at it cooperatively, I think, could help in that regard, because you're not gonna like if I drew better than you in the base game, you're gonna be like, well, this fucking bag building's bullshit.
Yes.
But in the cooperative, it's everybody is dealing with it, right? So, and you're all dealing with it together.
Yes.
So
cool.
Yeah.
For myself, I continued my trend of the only game I play physically or even digitally, because I haven't played a digital board game in I don't know how long. The only game that I currently play anymore is occasional Mansions of Madness with Megan.
At least it's something.
It is at least something. So I think I talked about how I had my I definitely talked about my super impulse buy at Black and Red, where I got like 3 of the expansions for 2nd edition, because I talked about that we played the train scenario out of Horrific Journeys.
Horrific Journey, yeah.
So this time we played another Horrific Journeys scenario. We did the airship scenario.
Nice.
And it was another one.
That's like the murder mystery, right?
Yes. Yep. So it's a murder mystery on a dirigible. That is.
Just please tell me it wasn't filled with helium.
So it's actually not. It was filled with life-saving helium and not.
Oh God.
Life-destroying hydrogen. At one point, you can even ask a guy about like, isn't it dangerous to be smoking with all this hydrogen around? And he's like, well, this is filled with safe and whatever helium. And I was like, Archer. All Archer.
Can you slap it out of his mouth?
No, unfortunately, you cannot. But yeah. So, in kind of a similar theme, because even Horrific, the train one was kind of also, it wasn't as much a murder mystery, but it was like people are vanishing. You got to figure out why, and like so it's kind of a mystery, and then like at a turning point in the scenario, like shit goes awry. And I don't want to give too much away. And this is kind of the same thing. Like you have an amount of time to solve the murder mystery. And if you can solve it, I think you would win at that moment. I'm not sure because we didn't. In fact, the one person we had fully discounted, we were like, man, it's either this person or this person. It could be this third person. It is definitely not the fourth person. There's no way it's them. It was them.
So that's when oh God, what's his name? Ron, from Arrested Development, the narrator, Ron Howard.
Yes.
That's when he kicks in, right?
Yes.
It definitely wasn't him. It was him.
Yes, exactly. Ron Howard voice. It was him.
Yep.
So he went full traitor and like smashes the engines, and then the like all-encompassing Eldritch Void storm thing starts tearing the dirigible apart, and so like you have to progress along it, fighting ever redonkulously more powerful monsters as you try to repair the engine and like hope to get out of it. And we did. We actually won that one. So we failed the train, and at some point we'll go back and retry the train, but we actually succeeded in stopping the bad guy on the dirigible. And like the end narration was like, it narrowly limping back to town. It was like, yeah. We got pretty fucked up.
Nice.
So, but it was a lot of fun. It was one where I could see, even as we were playing it, we were already talking about like how you can clearly see that it's definitely like the clues are like, you find a footprint, and when you examine the footprint, it's blank type of shoe. And then like the 5 suspects, it's like 2 of them are wearing shoe A, 2 are wearing shoe B, and then the third is wearing a different shoe entirely. That like, and I don't know, because obviously if they ever say like, hey, it's the shoe where there's only one fucking person with it, then you're hosed. Like you'd solve it immediately.
Right.
in pretty much every situation, like the clues could apply to multiple people. Like you find a bit of cigar ash on the dude's shirt, and like fully, I don't know, because I don't remember how many suspects there were. There might have been 6 even. 2 in the front, that guy, that person. There's 7. I think there were 7 suspects.
That sounds right. But yeah, just how replayable it could be.
Yeah,
and that you can play it again and not like still have to figure out the mystery over. Yeah,
exactly.
I really like how they have implemented that in a lot of their scenarios.
Yeah, because some of the other ones, like some of them, it makes sense. Like it can be a little bit different, where like, you know, the layout of the buildings change and stuff.
Exactly.
This is one, especially, and kind of the train one as well, where it feels like it would be difficult to really change the layout much. Like you could change it a little bit, but functionally, like a train, you know, is going to have the caboose at one end and the engine at the other, and you start in the caboose and you got to get to the engine. Like, you know, what happens in the middle?
Just veers to the left and to the right, and you're like, what the fuck's, what kind of weird ass train is this?
It's an Eldritch train.
Exactly.
And same thing for the airship.
Choo choo, but what, you know, in tormented sounds, yeah.
But yeah. So we still have to try the cruise ship from Horrific Journeys. That'll probably be the next one we do, and then I don't know where we'll go after that. You know, we've got, now that I bought a bunch of expansions, we have a lot more stuff opened up to us, which is really nice.
And that's even the nice thing, is that if you go into an older scenario, as long as you have those things available to you, it can start adding some of those stuff into the narrative.
Yeah.
So that's where it's just like, that's why I'm so glad that there's an app that's able to integrate all that stuff.
Yeah.
Effectively.
Yeah, Mansions of Madness still, to me, remains one of the clearest examples for me of, like, an app done right for a board game. Like,
right.
I liked Mansions First Edition as it was, but it had problems, and I could, like, I see and acknowledge all of those problems, and the app, going app direction with Second Edition just fixed every problem that I had with it, and then added a bunch of awesome shit that would have been nearly impossible to do with just a board game.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So, yeah, that's what I've played. That and a whole lot of Satisfactory. So, did you have any other games, or did you just knocked all yours out right there? Right, you didn't have another one.
Yeah, I just knocked all mine out right there. Yeah,
cool.
Figured it'd be easier that way than to just go back and forth, especially since you only had the one singular game.
Yes, that's fair.
Yeah.
So we can do a quick little banter section here. I don't have a whole lot to banter about because I've just been working and social distancing. But
so you said you were getting sick of Satisfactory. Is that no longer the case, or
well, so
you still are?
So I had hit a point where it wasn't so much that I was sick of it; it's that I didn't know how to proceed. Like I finished the Space Needle projects. Not the Space Needle, but the Space Elevator.
Space Elevator.
Yeah, so like there's like 3 tiers of shit you got to build up. Like the first one is like, hey, get 50 of these plates, and you make 50 of those plates that are a decent little combination of stuff, and you launch them up, and it unlocks a bunch of new shit. And then it's like, all right, well, now you got to send up these 3 objects, and it's like 50 of one, 100 of the other, and like 120 of the other, and you send those up, and they're slightly more complicated. And then there's the third tier that's like even more complicated shit, and you got to send all that up. And I did that. And so then it's like, well, now what? Like, those are some of the most advanced items in the game, and I made, hundreds of them. So now what? Like, I'd had dreams of, like, building this big, massive factory to, like, fund Space Needle projects really fast. And it's like, well, now there's no more Space Needle projects, so I don't know what to do. But I still like the game, and I like running around in it and trying to solve things and build things. And I want to build a huge, crazy mega base like I've seen some YouTubers do that's, like, super efficient and everything's laid out really awesomely and, aesthetically pleasing and all of that. And I'm vaguely working in that direction. So I still get on and dick around for a little bit.
Gotcha.
I have now unlocked everything, though. I've done all of the MAM research. I've done all of, so everything is unlocked. So it's
what you need to do is you need to start again, but have your one base that you're going to do, but like never move anything. Is that like you just have everything built in its final form?
Oh God, I can't even imagine. Like everything I've like tutorial type things that are like like guides / suggestions for building a mega base. They're all like, We'll start a simple base to make all of the materials you'll need for the mega base. And don't worry about the first base. You can just delete it later. It's like...
Yep.
I'm still enjoying it, and I'm still kind of playing around it. I did also find a save editor. So you can drop your save in on this website, and it'll show you the whole map. And like it can show you like which... where all of the like hard drive locations are, including which ones you've gotten and which ones you haven't, and what their requirements are, so you don't like trek all the way over to one and be like, oh, this has this shit that I don't have with me.
Just have everything with you. You have enough inventory space to just carry everything.
I mean,
Adrian.
I have a lot of inventory space, and even still, I don't think I have enough space to carry one of everything, or a stack of everything. But yeah. And you can do some like other save editing stuff. Like it's going to make some of the like base level factory creation really simple. Cause like one of the editing things you can do on it is you can spawn platforms, like the foundations. So like as long as you have a foundation in an area, you can like click on it on the save editor on the website and be like spawn around this particular foundation, you know, a big old huge square of whatever dimensions you choose. And it will pull your own resources from your own containers that it like can see and build all of those for you. And then you can export the save file from the website, load it into Satisfactory, and like, hey, there's the whole like ground layout of your factory done and good to go. So
good to go.
Which will be a massive time saver when it comes time, because that's easily one of the most tedious things for me is like, all right, I want to like have things laid out really well, which means you need foundation so it snaps to the grid, but then just placing like kerchunk just gets so fucking tedious when you're trying to build a massive like floor for your base.
Yeah, that's one of the downfalls of it being first person.
Yeah.
Versus if it was a not even third, like a isometric sort of view, you can just, you know, select a whole big area to put stuff in.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming like Factorio, I don't know if Factorio can actually do that or not.
You can't, because I also played Factorio, and it does not. For me, it does not even come close to competing with Satisfactory. Like it's deeper. There's more to build and like shit like that. And there's actually like a little bit of a game at the start. Like, hey, you crash landed. Like, here's some shit to do, story wise.
I just hate how it looks.
Yeah.
And also, I'm not interested in playing it. I only got into Satisfactory because I was able to play second fiddle and to other people's factories, and then I could just fuck off and go explore or whatever.
Yes. I have gotten to a point where I do miss being able to be like, hey, Zach, I need coal. Can you go find me some coal and route it back to the base for me, please? That sounds really tedious, and I don't want to do it.
Yeah, yep. There's different kinds of tedious in those games.
Yes.
But yeah, I'm curious to see what stuff though, like what I don't know what later patches will bring on that. Have you like are you fully nuclear powered?
I have unlocked nuke power. I have not proceeded down that path yet.
Gotcha.
I've already decided. So since the last time I've played, I was like trying to decide what I would do next time I got on, and so next I'm going to work on a massive. Well, I'm going to try. My next time I play will definitely be spending a lot of time going around getting hard drives, because I need to unlock the turbo fuel recipe, which you can only get through the hard drives. So I got to find a bunch of hard drives, because every hard drive is like a random chance of what 3 upgrades you unlock or recipes. So I've got to get enough that eventually, hopefully, I get turbo fuel, or I get impatient, and I use that website to just unlock turbo fuel. But then I'm going to build a massive turbo fuel factory to power my future expansions. Eventually, I will go to nuke, but I still need to find... I haven't explored all of the map. That's something else that I'm going to try and work on doing, because I want to find a good place to make my nuclear waste dump, since you can't get rid of nuclear waste.
Correct.
So I need to find a good place to just dump it all.
That reminds me of that Satisfactory video that someone posted, where the guy just ran his waste through his entire base, and so he couldn't even be in his own base because the radiation would kill him.
Yeah. It's the YouTube channel Game It Out, and like his whole shtick is that he tries to break games. And I've watched like several, like even games I don't play or have any interest in playing, and it's just delightful to watch him find weird ways to break these games. Which he definitely did with Satisfactory. He was like one of the first people to build like one of the ridiculous hypertube cannons that just liquefy your player model.
Nice.
So,
yeah. I started playing Half-Life Alyx again.
Oh yeah, how's that been going?
It has been going well. So the reason I started is, when I first started playing it, I have a cable that I can actually connect to my computer.
Okay.
But and that'll let you play PC games. But man, it's like, but I got a Quest, so it's wireless. It's annoying that I have to be wired in order to actually play a game. Or to play my PC Steam games. Here comes Virtual Desktop, and you can basically get the Quest version of it, and then you basically load it onto your computer as well, and then you can wirelessly stream from your desktop to your headset, to your Quest, and you can open up Steam VR, and then you can play Steam VR games wirelessly.
Mm-hmm.
When it first started, latency was real bad on it, and it just was not an overall good experience. And it got better, and that's when I jumped in, and it still just wasn't good enough for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just stopped for a while. I had other Quest-specific games that I could just play. But basically two things happened. One is the Virtual Desktop got updated enough that it's like my computer doesn't even need to be connected for the internet for me to be able to stream to it.
Oh, nice.
And they just got better codecs to help with it. And then my video card actually got a desktop that they specifically called out, and they're like, Quest users, this is going to really help you with like streaming like PC VR games. And so I was like, well, you know what? Let's just get back in on Alyx. And I'll tell you, like those two things combined, man, that game is a pretty fucking game. Because I think it used to compress it a little bit in order to stream it more efficiently.
Okay.
And it doesn't have to do that anymore.
Yeah.
And oh man, it is like when I first updated this computer from my previous build to this one, I was like, okay, it looks a little better, but it doesn't look a lot better. And like I've been playing recently, I was like, oh man, it looks a lot better now.
Nice.
And it has only stuttered a couple times. Then I'll tell you though, when you're playing VR and it's working great, and then it stutters, you're just like, oh god, this hurts.
Like actually makes you trip and fall.
Yeah, no, there was one of the games I was playing, the Room VR, which is like a little puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a puzzle game basically.
Yeah.
I was unlocking a box, and then it sort of froze. It basically crashed, but it crashed at a static image, and so I'm turning, and all of a sudden the image is staying still, and I'm turning away from the image, and I'm like, oh my god, my brain hurts so much right now.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, but no, it's so I'm about 3/4 of the way through the game. And it's such a great game. There is, I would say, the highlight of the game so far has just been an area. It's a chapter called Jeff.
Okay.
And oh man, it is so great. I don't really want to spoil it. I can tell you off stream or whatever about it, but it is it's just so it's so inventive, and it's definitely the like best VR game to like show you what VR can do in an actual game, like a game environment, versus like Beat Saber or Pistol Whip or like the puzzle games where it's like these are real cool things you can do, but like this is like a legit game, and it is legit in VR.
Awesome.
And it is it's been so, I'm so glad I was able to start it up again, and I'm really looking forward to finishing it. And you definitely need to try it out at some point.
So that's like, there's so much. I like at this point in my life have some of the most expendable income I've ever had in my life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my savings is the highest it's been since, I don't know, like it was briefly very high when I first joined the Navy, and they gave me like a $20,000 sign-on bonus. Like, yeah. And it's killing me because there are so many things I want to buy. It's like I want to buy like a new vehicle because I don't like the ones I have. I want to buy like a 3D printer. I want to buy a VR set, like all of these things. And so, yes, hearing people talk about their awesome VR sets, like hearing you talk about Alyx, is like, I could get a VR set. Like I could. So
I'll tell you this. When I went to Jeff's place to first play VR in his Index, after I played it, I was like, okay, well now this is a fact. I'm getting a VR headset. And I brought my I finally was able to hang out with my friend a little while ago. So I went. It was like 2 weekends ago. I brought my headset, my Quest down because he had never tried VR, and I had him play Super Hot. And after like 30 minutes of that, he was like, "Okay, I need to get a VR headset now."
Yeah.
So if you want me to bring it over to you, I can. Just know the consequences of doing that.
I'll have to make sure that it's at some point that you can bring it over where Megan can also try it, because that way,
Yes.
once she's fully on board, then I can remove all responsibility. Like she'll be like, "Oh, Adrian, we have to get one of these." I'm like, "If you say so." So.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's mainly what I've been doing. I started The Last of Us again because for a while my PS4 just wasn't working. And then I just turned it on and it started working again, and I was like, "Great, no,
Convenient.
I'm not gonna let go of this chance." And so I started playing the remastered version of it because Last of Us 2 came out, and I want to play that. And I want to play Ghost of Tsushima, which comes out on Friday. I'm gonna be so busy with video games. It's gonna be real annoying to try and fit board games and all of this.
Yeah. Like temporarily, we need to have a fucking video game podcast for a while.
Right?
Yeah.
It's yeah. I will say it's like a good-ish time to have to be stuck in your home. Like I'm like, well, at least I'm catching up on all this shit that I need to.
Yeah, oh, seriously. Like I can't imagine if I was also trying to still do game nights and like live streams and everything, and then still fit in all of the Satisfactory that I'm playing.
Right.
I wouldn't get anything else done.
Very true. But yeah, that's basically what I've been doing.
Cool.
This whole time. So.
Right on. Yeah, I don't think I really have anything else. I've just like I said, Satisfactory and not much else.
Right.
So
that's fine.
Yeah, we can move right on then. No Bloody Minute, obviously, since Jeff is gone, and neither of us do anything remotely related to Blood Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, I only dabble in a tournament if I have to, but I'm not going to touch the computer game.
Yeah.
I'm okay.
Hard pass. Well, with that out of the way, we can move on to some news and Kickstarters then.
Sounds good.
Right on. First up on news, so there had been some rumblings for a long time in the Mile High Game Guy Slack. May has very, very slyly hinted that she was aware of Legacy, Pandemic Legacy 3-ish, the next Pandemic Legacy game. But she stubbornly would not tell us a damn thing about it.
Because she was able to, May being able to name drop everybody.
Yes.
She would help playtest some of the previous ones, and including, she was talking about Season 3.
Yes.
And so somebody posted online somewhere a picture of Pandemic Legacy Season 0, and it showed,
the box.
Prequel. Yeah, the box, which looked sort of like Sherlock Holmes-esque, if not like
I think more Cold
World
War.
II's,
Yeah, more Cold War.
That's that sort of area. And so we immediately asked her, we're like, May, is there no actual Season 3? Is this what you played?
Yeah, and she's like, oh, is the information out? Can I talk about that now? And it was
so we're like,
no, it just leaked.
Yeah,
we were like, yes, of course you can. Tell us everything. She was like, oh, I looked. It looks like it was just the cover that was leaked, and then still wouldn't tell us anything.
Yeah.
But more information is slowly kind of coming out. They did at least own up to it. Somebody had found it like on Reddit, where they found it weirdly hidden on Z-Man's website, and then Z-Man like removed it and then released a trailer a little bit later. But it seems like it's going to be kind of a historical setting, like we were saying, like World War II, Cold War, whatever. So it's not going to be modern day. It's definitely not going to follow in the footsteps of either of the two Pandemic Legacies that are already out. Yeah, there's not a lot of information yet on any of the mechanics or anything that's going to go into it in that regard.
Right.
Obviously it somehow probably connects story-wise to what happens in Legacy Season 1 and Season 2. But how it...
Well, and the tagline that they're using for this one is every ending has a beginning.
Yes.
And so I know at least you were a little bit like, ugh, but I want, like, why can't, basically a prequel doesn't sound as interesting to me as a sequel.
Yes, and that's more the case. Like, it's not so much like, oh, why can't I? Because I don't know how we haven't finished our season 2.
Is that we don't know how it ends because we still haven't finished season 2.
Yeah.
So maybe it ends in a way that it's like, well, another sequel wouldn't make sense after this.
Right. I totally get. But that feels to me like it would just have the closure, and I'd be like, all right, I'm done with the series. Like, at no point have I been like, I want to go back and play a Cold War era, like 60 years before the events of season 1 or 80 years or however far it ends up being. I want to go back and play this stuff that, because the problem for me is, like, as much as I like the story of Legacy matters to me,
mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter in the same way that like a book or a movie would, where like I could actually want to see, like, since it's a game and in theory the actions I take affect things, it immediately just that general idea makes a prequel not work for me. Like, yes, what I did in season 1 doesn't actually affect season 2, but in a headcanon, I can assume that what we did in season 1 directly led to where we started in season 2, and that did not apply for people whose games ended in other ways. Like, our ending of season 1 is why season 2 started that way. If I go back and play this, then I know that it breaks that weirdly. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. It's just a weird gut feeling I have.
A gut feeling in your head canon.
Yes, correct. Yes. Where gut feelings belong.
Yes. I can sort of understand that, but also because as soon as I saw that 1 did not actually impact 2, then I am fine with a season 0 because I know it won't. I'm assuming whatever happens game wise will somehow further enhance season 1 in some way, either explaining how whatever started or just something. I don't know, but I'm. As of right now, I'm still up for more Pandemic Legacy, so I am interested in where this is going to go, especially because season 2 took a sharp turn from season 1 in terms of mechanics.
Yes,
and so I'm curious to see where this is going to go in that regard.
Same.
So
same. I also don't super love the generic brown color of the box, but I don't know.
I mean, they always come in 2 colors, so I'm wondering what the other one will be.
Yeah, hopefully it's better than brown.
It'll be like a lime green, I'm going to guess.
Somehow worse.
Yep.
Anyhow, moving on. Next up in news, there's a new scenario pack that's been announced for Marvel Champions the card game, The Once and Future Kang. Unfortunately, we don't have Jeff here to fill us in on all of the lore of Kang.
Very true. The little bit that I know about him is that basically he's a time traveler from the future that comes back to just be like, I'm going to take over everything. That's very little, that's all about I know. And I know he's a time traveler and he's a bad guy.
Yeah.
So that's what you get.
And apparently, according to the little blurb here, he has his futuristic technology, being a time traveler, awe-inspiring intellect, and time-altering powers. So he can do all kinds of weird timey-wimey bullshit.
Which is actually plays into
the mechanics.
Scenario pack.
Yes.
Yeah, which is real cool.
So essentially, it seems like in the main scenario, you're going to be battling across time with him. So you'll start at the beginning with everybody in the same location as Kang, fighting Kang. But then as you beat him that first time, it will split things up. And basically everyone will get sent to a different alternate timeline where you'll each have a villain you're fighting and you're like your own little thing, and you have to beat that on your own. And then once you've beaten yours, you can join one of the other players to help them beat theirs, until eventually, once all of you have beaten your individual scenarios, you'll meet back up for the final battle with Kang. Which, that sounds fucking cool.
Yes, it does. It is Yeah, I like because it's sending you, like you said, a bunch of different alternate timelines, or like back in time and stuff like that. So you could be fighting Kang in like ancient Egypt, or he's like a sort of replacement for Galactus, like a giant. Oh no, he's not as big as a city. He's just on a thing by like perspective makes him look as big as a
Yeah,
city.
he's up on like a balcony in that one.
Yeah, okay, but like he could also be like Iron Lad, so he's like an Iron Man sort of person.
Yes.
And so it'll be this seems like a cool take on it. I thought the Wrecking Crew was an interesting scenario, and it played differently from the other ones, and it looks like this one will as well.
Yes.
And I'm definitely looking forward to trying it out.
Yes.
It's a bit of a shame that you just like the Wrecking Crew, you only get one scenario in here. So it seemed like with the Green Goblin, you had two, I'm not going to say similar, but like more standard scenarios, but there were two in there.
Yes.
Whereas this one is just the one.
Yeah.
But you can also add him as a modular set, so he could show up in other other scenarios, because you add I forget what they're called, but it's like a little just a not a nemesis, like just a side boss that you can shuffle like 5 or 6 cards into your main scenario, and so he could show up theirs too.
Okay. Yeah, I was hoping it showed in here. It doesn't seem like it mentions how many like of the alternate Kangs there are, because that could make it a little better if it's, if there's only 4 of them, to where no matter what in a 4-player game you're going to all see the 4 same timelines. Then that's a little disappointing. But if there's like 8, to where it's a different mix of 4 every time, or even 6, so there's 2 you might not see, like that would help a lot. But I don't see any information here about how many of those there are.
Well, here it shows, it shows 4 pictures, and it lists all 4 of them, and then it says or some other iteration of the villain. So hopefully that means that there will be a couple others.
Yeah. They do show one of his, so he has these obligations that he gives you, which kind of depower you. The one it shows here, Stolen Memories. When revealed, place the top 8 cards of your deck face down under this card, and then an alter ego can discard one of the symbols that you need to do things from your hand to discard this obligation, and then discard each face down card under the obligation. That sucks.
So it's going to just it's taking 8 cards out of your deck, which is already bad, but it's until you pay for that, you're going to go through your deck a lot quicker, which means that he will accelerate his schemes a lot quicker. So
yeah.
I do like that. It seems like he will be adding. Normally, every hero has one obligation that's tied to, tied to themselves. So like Peter Parker has an eviction notice that he has to take care of.
Yes.
And I like that he will be adding obligations to you, so you have to use, so your alter ego has to deal with them.
Yes.
Because I think that's one of the more interesting things that Marvel has, is that you have your hero and your alter ego, and you have being able to juggle those 2 things makes the game more interesting, and being forced to go to one or the other. And so I like that this is adding that.
Yes, for sure. So, yeah, more Marvel Champions card game awesomeness coming our way. You can order it right now, even.
I'm curious to see if this is going to come out before Hydra, Red Skull, but we'll see.
Yeah, I don't know. We shall see. Right on. Last up in news, got a couple announcements this week, today basically, about reprints of some long out-of-print games. First up, Tammany Hall is getting a reprint from Pandasaurus. And so Tammany Hall is a game, I played it a long time ago with Eldar, but basically it takes place in oldie New York, where you're playing as different political factions vying for power. And so you have a bunch of things to manipulate, different immigrant populations and things around New York. And you can send bosses out to rough people up and all kinds of things like this. Basically, trying to secure votes for yourself while slandering your opponents. And then every 4 turns or 4 years, which I don't remember in the game if years are turns or not. But I believe so, yeah. Yeah. But every 4 years, there's an election, and whoever did the best at all that racketeering and everything, they become the mayor. But the downside of that is that because you are the mayor, and your position is very tenuous, you have to pay off your political rivals by placing them in different offices in the city, which then give them different power that they can have to manipulate, voting in the city so that hopefully at the next election they can win as mayor. And you basically play that for a few rounds, and I cannot remember at all what the main scoring was in the base game. It has been a long time since I played it.
Yeah, that's what I played. It's been a while since I played it too, but I played it a couple times with you guys. And I believe it was just like at the end of the game, whoever, like, you got points for being the mayor and doing certain things, and I think it's whoever had the most points at the end of the game.
Yeah.
But I do remember a lot of like temporary alliances in the sense of like, well, if you help me get mayor, I'm going to help you get, I'll put you as vice mayor or, head of this or head of that. Or if someone really slighted you, you're like, I'm going to give you the worst position possible, that sort of stuff. I remember enjoying it. One thing I do like is that Pandasaurus it's not going to be just a straight reprint. Like the art, it's going to be new art, which I really like the cover that they have for the game.
Yes.
I think it looks real good.
Yes, for sure.
But then they're also going to be like the tokens, instead of like, a lot of them won't just be generic discs. So like the slander tokens are going to be like little speech bubbles instead of just a black disc. The ward lockdown tokens are going to be gavels instead of block of wood. The back of the board has a collage of a bunch of political cartoons from that era.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and also the rules is supposed to be a lot clearer, which will be good.
Yeah. So definitely looking forward to giving that one another try. I don't know if I'll pick it up because I don't remember if I actually like it, but I definitely want to play it again. So
it's basically, I mean, it's sort of area control, but it ain't, but not in a fighting, capacity.
Yeah.
But in a,
Yeah, and it still definitely has a very social aspect.
Yeah, I don't want to say non-violent because
right,
a less violent thing. So yeah, but I seem to liking it pretty well, and it's definitely been a game that people have talked about how good it was, but it had been out of print for a long time, so it's good that it's coming back.
Indeed. Speaking of games coming back, Gale Force 9 has announced a new edition of Spartacus, A Game of Blood and Treachery. This is another game that I played a long time ago that they're bringing back. Unlike Tammany Hall, this one seems to only have updated artwork. They have not mentioned any gameplay changes yet. But basically in in Spartacus, you play like Roman elites, and you're able to buy different gladiators and then pit them in fights and bet on them and things like that. It's like you can buy weak fighters just to throw into fights and then bet against them to earn money, or you can try and like get a really good fighter that you want to bet a lot of money on who can win fights, and you can equip them and do a bunch of different stuff like that. And there's a whole bunch of different options for like backstabbing and treachery between the different leaders, like going through fights and stuff like that. I really remember liking kind of the mechanics behind like where you would buy gladiators, and like it felt like there were really like two major phases of the game, like the battles themselves, but then also like all of the wheeling and dealing in the battle.
Right. The fact that you can control a gladiator, but you don't care at all if he wins or loses. Yeah. And that people can try and pay you to make them win or lose. Yeah. So, yeah. So the art basically gets rid. So the previous art was the
Spartacus the show.
Yeah. The actual show on Stars, and so this art goes away from that. I don't know if they lost the rights to the pictures or anything, but
or maybe they felt that having the pictures made it seem too much like it might just be an IP like garbage game, and they want to make.
Oh yeah, definitely I can see that. Yeah.
That would be my initial thoughts, because like anytime I see a game where it's like, oh, that photorealistic stuff is from a popular TV show, I don't trust this game to be good. So, but I do remember vaguely liking Spartacus. Travis, who used to live up here in Denver and then moved to, I don't know, Arizona or something, he had it, and I played it with him. He was the one who introduced me to it. So
that seems right, yeah.
But yeah, so out of print games coming back. That wraps up the news portion of news and Kickstarters. So we can move over to some Kickstarters, and we'll start off with Dead Reckoning. Very well funded, $392,000 of its $50,000 goal. 4,300 backers and about 2 weeks left to go. You can get this one at its most popular pledge for $109 for the Legendary Captain pledge,
which gets you a copy of the base game and all the content unlocked in the daily discovery.
Yes. So Dead Reckoning is a 4X strategy game with pirate themes. So 4X swashbuckling adventure game. Basically you'll be able to travel around, exploring islands, fighting battles, upgrading your ship and crew, as well as building settlements and fortifications on different islands to kind of, solidify your winnings so far. At the end, whoever has the most treasure at the end of the game will be the winner. Then there are also, these little saga expansions they've included that you can add or remove, that kind of reset the game. You know, you can throw in a saga expansion, play for a little bit, and then take it out real easy and go back to playing just the base game. There's a lot of different ways to go about achieving the victory and getting all the treasure. You know, most likely it's kind of a pirate game, so being a pirate, definitely an option.
Doing piratey things, I would assume?
Yes, correct. You can decide to be an explorer, rushing around, flipping tiles, and seeing what there is to find and getting treasure that way. You can also do a little bit of pick up and deliver, become a master merchant, trading and avoiding all of the pirates who are undoubtedly going to be coming for that booty. Yeah. This game does a couple of interesting things. So for battles, they are... I'll be honest, it comes across a little gimmicky, but I'm curious to see how it plays. They have the Broadsides battle system. So the game comes with this like giant piece, like cardboard piece together battleships. Like if you imagine like the little airship in Celestia, you kind of piece together, like this is a bigger like battleship that functions similar to a dice tower. And then it's got like a little... Go ahead.
Yeah, it's no, I was going to say it's got a little cube tower. Which like Shogun and I think not Wallenstein. Another game similar to maybe it is Wallenstein. Yes, it is.
I don't know if this one is like those into where you don't know what cubes will actually come out or not. Like if some...
Well, I guess what I mean, it's in the sense that you're putting the cubes into this tower.
Yes.
But instead of them getting like stuck and some of them falling out, some of them not, they sort of land on this little mat that has different symbols on it, and basically wherever they land is what actually happens.
Yeah, so there's things that I think can, like, they don't really go into detail about what all these different symbols are, but, it's for, like, the battle system, so, like, damage and things like that can help you win your battles, basically.
Yep.
No idea. That's an interesting thing. Like I said, it comes across a little gimmicky, but I'd be curious to give it a shot. The second kind of interesting thing about this, so one of the designers is somebody who was a key designer on Mystic Vale. And so this one includes card crafting in a bunch of different ways.
John Clare.
Yes.
Specifically. So.
So you have crew specializations that you can level up through different levels. They get more and more powerful and have new effects. And then you can also earn advancements that slot into those crew cards as well, that level them up and make your crew more powerful, as you go along. And they're all iconography-based stuff, so, it's hard to say exactly what some of these symbols they show mean, but you can certainly get a lot more symbols on your card.
Yes. And I do like that your first, like, level-up card is, like, double-sided, so you can choose to be, like, one side or another.
Yes. But yeah, beyond that, like I said, it's a 4X game, so it's got all the 4X, or 4E, as some people would like to see it called. The 4X different aspects. So there's exploring, there's ocean tiles that are flipped face down at the start of the game, and you can sail over to them and flip them over and see what's underneath them. different islands and things that can grant you access to like new powers that you can use to upgrade your crew and stuff like that. Expand, you can deploy settlers to build like cities and fortifications on different islands that can help you earn more resources / defend your resources. There's extract, where you produce value from your holdings in the form of cargo and or money. And then lastly, exterminate, where you can destroy anyone who gets in your way / go steal from the guy who's the merchant. Which I've heard is like half of merchants and marauders is just running around and marauding the merchants.
That seems about
It's
right,
like,
yeah.
Which poor bastard chose to be a merchant? All right, let's all go take his stuff.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's the basic idea for it. I'm interested. The crew involved in it are all people that I like things that they have done in the past. So like you said, John D. Clare, he did Mystic Vale. He also did Space Base and Ecos. I haven't played either of those, so I'm not sure how those are, but I really liked Mystic Vale.
I've heard good things about Space Base.
Same.
So.
Most of the art is from my favorite artist in board gaming, Ian O'Toole. They also have Stephanie Gustafsson working on it, and she worked on a bunch of stuff for like Aeon's End, which what little bit of Aeon's End I've fooled around with I liked. Paul Grogan has done a lot of the editing and stuff for the rule books, and I think he's always done a really good job with that. And the only one on the group that I'm not really familiar with their catalog is Mark Wooten, who did balance work on Ecos, War Chest, and Thunderstone Quest. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is by AEG, too, so they've made some good stuff. They've also... So the last game that we played that had the card crafting system was, oh god, what was that one called? The one that Jeff and I did not like at all.
Oh, yeah, because it was the stupid huge box of just everything.
Edge of Darkness?
Yes.
I think that's what.
Something like that. Something darkness.
And so, little hesitant, with this, but I liked that. I think my main problem with that one was that you weren't crafting your own cards. You were crafting like a shared pool of cards. And so this one you are making your own. And like you said, I thought, I do like a good pirate theme if it's well done, and it seems like this is adding some interesting things. And it's trying to be a 4X, and so it has, all four of the different things that it's trying to do. So I'm curious to see if this would actually work or not.
Same. I would give it a shot. I don't know if I want to play. I would like to find a really good, awesome pirate game, because I haven't yet. But
yeah, I mean, I still want to try Merchants and Marauders at some point. But
same.
I've heard like good things, but with like qualifiers attached to it. So.
Same. So right on. Yeah, that's Dead Reckoning from AEG. Go check it out. Next up in Kickstarter, Catapult Kingdoms. Well funded, $331,000 of its $15,000 goal. Just about 4,500 backers and a little under 2 weeks left to go on this one. You can get your copy at the most popular pledge level, like everybody else, which is, I lost it. Yeah, I'm not as good as Jeff. Yeah, $60 for the deluxe edition. So this looks like a Paul insta-buy, honestly.
Yes, it does.
And it looks like I was browsing through these and just started laughing. And Zach was like, "What are you laughing at?" I was like, "Catapult Kingdoms looks amazing." So this is a 2 to potentially more player, like Catapult dexterity flicky game. So you basically, each player takes on the role of one of two households, the Shao Forts and the Cunning Fields, and you build up a castle and set up your like 5 troops in and around your castle, and then you take turns launching little catapult rubber balls at the castles to try and knock over the various troops. So yeah, it comes with a bunch of different castle bricks that are like little rectangle bricks and like one arch brick, and you build up a little castle, and then you spread out your troops, and then you choose your device to attack with. The base game only comes with catapults, but there are multiple expansions that you can also get through this Kickstarter that will add things like a ballista or the mighty plunger. I looked everywhere for how the plunger works, and I'm still not sure.
So this one, I'm thinking either you put it right next to it and you just sort of it's basically like a battering ram, or it looks like a battering ram rather. And I would assume that you either put it next to it and you like try and hit it, or you have a ball on the battering ram and you like hit the ball,
Yeah,
and so that it's rolling towards. So it's on the ground, so it'll be easier to control. So that might be it.
maybe. The catapult's basically like a catapult, like you pull it back and flick it and it arcs it. The ballista's a little bit more like a slingshot, so it's a little bit more of a straight back rubber band launch. And then yeah, we're still not sure what the mighty plunger actually does. But base set comes with a pair of catapults and all the stuff to make 2 different castles, along with 5 troops each. Player boards. There's also some action cards in there, so kind of like what is the actual name of that monkey flicking game? Like Go Nuts for Coconuts?
Coconuts.
Just Coconuts?
It's just Coconuts, yeah.
So there's like action cards in that kind of like, you can use to kind of fuck with your opponents. Like one of these looks like it's like +3 bricks, so maybe you can like rebuild your castle a little bit. Stuff like that.
Yeah, it looks like you can maybe move some stuff around, or it doesn't look nearly as unbalanced as the coconut ones.
No,
but
no, not even close. The Siege expansion, which is included in that deluxe pledge that we were talking about for the most popular one, that one adds the 2 ballistas, 4 more rubber boulders, more action cards, and another set of alternate troops for both of the 2 factions, as well as some new and different castle blocks like parapets. So you can make your castles even more interesting. And then the Artificer's Tower, also included in the Deluxe Pledge. That includes those mighty plungers and some tower bricks, so you can make round towers as part of your castle. Still not quite sure. The action cards seem to look like maybe you can put a meeple in the mighty plunger, but I don't know. Still very unsure of how that actually works. Whole bunch of stretch goals for more and more castle building parts and things like that that they've unlocked. New minis.
So if you
all that.
Yeah, if you end up so the deluxe edition comes with the catapult, the siege expansion, the tower, and then some other stretch goals. But if you go all in, which it goes up to 110, you also get to add 2 more expansions, the volcano and the Vikings.
Yes. Which those, I forgot, like they have those hidden further down. They're not like up there with everything else.
Right.
The Viking, I don't remember really adding anything super much.
The Viking basically has a ship that's like off to the side that you're shooting like a little cannon at.
Yeah.
So it's off to the side, and it doesn't look like you're really controlling it like permanently.
Right.
That it's just Vikings at the beginning of the game. Vikings descend and charge towards the players. Every round they move closer to your castle, and if they ever reach your player board, you lose the game. So you want to spend some time attacking the Vikings instead of your players. And then you can also play a card that lets you shoot. They have, like I said, they have a cannon on there called the Dragon's Bane, and you can play an action card that'll let you use that cannon and shoot the opponent.
Okay. Yeah. The volcano one I thought seemed kind of interesting because the volcano one comes with a giant plastic volcano where you drop in 2 red lava balls, and it's basically kind of a random little dice tower where you drop the 2 balls in the top and they'll pop out one of the 2 sides. And it seems like this would only work in the 2-player game where there's people like directly across from each other. But it launches the balls like randomly out of one of those 2 holes and sends them flying towards walls.
Like in Fireball Island,
yeah.
It seems similar to that. And anything that those fireballs touch, they're immediately removed because it just burns them. But then if the fireball goes all the way through your castle, then you instantly lose the game.
Yes, because the floor is lava.
Yes.
There are also some extra holes up on the top there where you can play a special card to place the ball into those holes instead of in the top, and those ones basically coordinate to the exact opposite side, so you can control which side the lava comes flying out of. But yeah, whole bunch of crazy, ridiculous, silly, dexterity-based castle destruction awesomeness.
Oh yeah,
it looks really cool. And then especially like looking at the video and some of the actual live action photos of this, like it is much bigger than I anticipated. Like they're not like little tiny Lego bricks. Like they're decently sized castle bricks, and like the little catapult balls are decently sized. Like they're definitely bigger than the coconuts in Coconuts.
Oh yeah, definitely, yes.
So, yeah, definitely intrigued by this. And pretty reasonably priced. You know, that $60 gets you a good amount of silly dexterity game.
Yes.
You know, and they do have like group pledges. Like you can get a group of 6 together and get it for only $324. That's like $40 off. Almost a whole game off. So, yeah.
Pretty cool. Seems like a good one.
Yeah. That's Catapult Kingdoms. Go check it out. Last up in Kickstarters, we have Perseverance, Castaway Chronicles. Well-funded $465,000 of its $75,000 goal. Just a bit under 4,400 backers and a little under 2 weeks left to pledge on this one, which you can do for the whopping price, overwhelmingly chosen, of $135. Also, as is the tradition today, for the deluxe edition. So Perseverance.
A Kickstarter deluxe edition? That doesn't seem right.
No one ever does those. They're so rare. It's shocking to see 3 in one session.
Yeah, I always thought people used Kickstarters because they wanted a value, so they always went cheap.
Correct. Yeah. It's about people who can barely afford to get a game out. They can't afford to put a lot of flash into it. They need to just come and get the bare minimum of support to make a game. Anyway, so Perseverance is not just a game. It is 2 standalone games in one box. They are both supposedly thematic strategy games that can also be combined to make a campaign with evolving game mechanisms. So essentially, this takes place in a world where you were on a luxury ocean liner that then crashed and ran aground on a dinosaur island. And so the game itself consists of 2 episodes, episode 1 and episode 2, very creatively named, that function as 2 entirely standalone competitive strategy games for 1 to 4 players. They can be played entirely on their own, or they can be combined into Chronicle mode, that has an overarching set of mechanics, but doesn't have any legacy elements. The 3 main things that they say set it apart is that although they use the same core mechanics in both of the games, they have very unique feels. So they will share kind of a dice drafting, dice placement as the core mechanism, but they have their own unique main boards and are quite a bit different scenarios. Like one of them is basically like towards the beginning of things, and so you're young and fresh on the island, and the other one, like you've been on the island a little bit longer and you're maybe a little bit more older and grizzled.
Well, and not just that too, but like in the first story, like you're trying to build a city, and so like you're trying to stop like the dinosaurs coming in and fucking up all your shit.
Yes.
Whereas the second one is like you're established, you're working a little bit more with the dinosaurs and stuff like that.
Yeah. And some of that change is like reflected very much in the game art. So like the first episode 1, like the people look a little bit like fresher, like off their crashed cruise ship. They're wearing like modern clothes and stuff. And then episode 2, they look a lot more like, hey, they've been scrapping stuff together for a while as they've tried to make it.
Yep.
The deluxe edition that everybody is choosing there for that $135 also includes a shit ton of like dino minis and things like that. It's
so they're normally cardboard little standees of art. You know, it is a full color art of dinosaurs, but there are 64 dino miniatures that at least the images they're showing, they look very good.
Yes.
And then there's some little squishy berry resources too, if you remember that
Everdell
game that had this. There we go, that game.
Yes.
That's why I asked if you remembered it.
They never roll off the table. Yes.
No, these will not roll off the table nearly as easily, so that's good. And also 20 metal tracker tokens. I do like how those look a lot.
Yeah, they look
the
real
metal
good.
tracker tokens. Yeah.
And
then it also comes with a a fancy box that holds both games.
Yeah, like a really custom tray that holds all the dinosaur meeples and or minis and everything too. Both versions, deluxe and not deluxe, do also include a dice tray, little like one of the little snappy together neoprene dice trays that are kind of cool. There is not a ton of information on this Kickstarter about how to actually play the game. It's like they said, it's dice drafting and dice placement. So you take actions by drafting specialist dice from the pool and then placing them on different actions where certain specialists are better equipped to some actions than others. And then you basically keep doing that until the dice pool is completely empty. And then there's an assembly phase, which is like an area majority mechanism, scoring followers and establishing presence in different districts. There's a city like officers council that you can score influence with. That gives you different rewards after assemblies happen. The signature mechanics for the two different versions. Episode 1, they say the signature mechanic is Dino Defense. You'll be building walls, setting traps, and rallying soldiers to defend against periodic dinosaur attacks. Defense is kind of a joint effort, but you're rewarded individually based on your contributions. And if you fail, dinosaurs will breach the compound, which can trample settlements and lose followers. Episode 2 is more focused on exploration and expansion. So you've kind of gotten your foothold and you're looking to spread out into the world. So you can undertake different adventures, capture dinosaurs out in the wild, and establish outposts on map hexes for more die placement options. And the Chronicle mode combines those two into an overarching story where at the end of the first game, you'll earn titles based on your performance, and you can accomplish the goals that those will provide for you in the next games. Like if you get a certain title, it'll give you a goal in the next game, and then accomplishing goals and achievements earns you glory, which you can spend to unlock permanent bonuses and abilities. And so it makes for a very replayable non-legacy campaign that can initially will wrap up after episode 2, but they are planning on more episodes in the future, so you can keep that campaign going across multiple games.
Yeah, and I mean they're making, like you said, 460,000. So I would assume that as long as it's actually met with good reviews once it actually comes out, that like them releasing another episode of this.
Correct. This one also, I should note, I should have noted way back at the start, but I'll note now. This is from the same designers and some of the same people that did like Anachrony and Tricarion. So like definitely. Very thematic, medium to heavy-ish Euro games.
Yeah, which I'll tell you, after playing Tricarion, I'm definitely more interested in this one now.
Yeah.
Or once I saw that it was from the people that did Tricarion, I was like, oh shit, because like you said, that was a heavy Euro game, but like the theme was very well integrated into the actual gameplay.
Yeah.
And I am a sucker for dinosaurs, so
this is very true. So yeah, there's a bunch of tutorials and playthroughs that you can watch from Rado, Heavy Cardboard, Gaming Rules with Paul Grogan, fellow Punchboard Media person. And yeah, a lot of different stuff you can check out about that one. And they've got, whole big old team that they've put together for it. I don't know most of these people's names, but
I'll tell you, this is like one of the few times when we talk about a series of games, and it's like, I wouldn't mind backing all of these.
yeah. If I was back in the days when I just threw money shamelessly at Kickstarter, I would probably have backed all 3 of these as we were playing.
Yeah.
As it is, I have hit remind me on 2 of them.
I've hit remind me on 3 of them. We should probably coordinate this, Adrian, if we do end up doing it. So
yeah. So I feel like we can bring Jeff into the fold. Paul's definitely gonna get the fucking Castle Catapult game. Yep. So damn, good week for Kickstarters.
Yes, it was.
Been a while since I've actually been really interested in all 3 of the Kickstarters we've done.
I know, right? Yeah.
So that was a pleasant change. Apparently, we just need to send Jeff way more often, and then the Kickstarters will actually be good. All right. Well, that wraps up news and Kickstarter, so we can move on over into some listener feedback. The only listener feedback that we have this week are a pair of comments over on the YouTube channel. So first up, coming from episode 192, a tribute, is Paulo over in Paulo's Corner saying, ha 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 ha, that was the best response to the best response tribute. The D rules. So,
Yes, I do.
Yes.
Which, if you don't remember, it was he had said here he had a long list, or he had a long response that we responded to, but it wasn't aired yet, and so we just told him about it like that.
Yeah, he called us out, and then we explained, hey, we had this great response that we recorded, and this is just a tribute to it.
Yeah, and then I'm sure he listened to it last week.
Yes,
because we ended up releasing that episode, and I'm sure he was disappointed by it.
Yeah, this isn't the greatest and best comment in the history of the world.
No, it is not.
But yeah, so glad you approved of the tribute, Paulo.
Yes.
And then next up on the YouTube feedback. This is going way back to our Game of Thrones playthrough that is up on YouTube. That is just a redonkulously long 6-player game of a Game of Thrones, the board game.
That was like one of our first Twitch plays, too.
Which honestly makes this comment make me even happier. So,
right?
Alia says, I think this is a good cam review for Game of Thrones playthrough so far. It's fun to watch you guys playing. So...
No, they just said so far, so I wonder if they made the comment like while they were watching.
Yeah,
and then
it was like 5 minutes in. They were like, "Yeah, this is gonna be great." And then they were like, "Oh no!"
I'll tell you, it would have been pretty funny if they like responded after. I was like, "Well, I just watched that. I rescind everything I just said."
I watched, so I made this comment 5 minutes in, 10 minutes in. I take it all back. No, that one there were definitely, it wasn't our best. Like some of the sharpness and things aren't quite there, but
and it wasn't before. It was before you got your internet sorted out better.
Yeah, that's true. We did have the garbage internet, and it crashed like 4 fucking times.
Yeah,
you don't really notice. You don't really get that during the YouTube video because I spliced it all together, editing it. Which, holy shit, I had not checked this in a long time. That video has 1,600 views.
What? Oh my god.
People watch our shit.
Hell, like we just hit 200,000 downloads on the podcast
after 4 fucking years.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that is.
I did not know that at all.
I did not know that either. Oh, that makes me happy. More so than it should.
Well, it sounds to me like we need to get back to streaming at some point.
Well, and we clearly need to make sure and put them over on YouTube.
Exactly. I mean, surely all of our videos are on YouTube now, right, Adrian?
Yeah, sure.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not like we've made any new videos in like the last 6 months, so.
Oh yeah. So you've had plenty of time to put all of them on, right?
I feel attacked. Oh, our other videos don't necessarily have nearly as high of views as Game of Thrones. I don't know why that one's so high. That's so bizarre. Root has 104. Arkham Horror 3rd has 150. Why does that one have 1,600 fucking views?
I don't know, man.
All right, well, whatever.
Yeah, Mansion only has 112 after it.
Oh.
Tapestry has almost 900.
Wow.
Yeah.
Somehow,
now this is us just looking at our YouTube.
Yep. Sorry, I'm going to close that tab. So yeah, that wraps it up for listener feedback. If you would like to get in touch with us, there are a multitude of different ways to do so. You can send us emails at milehighgameguys.com. You can find us over on our BGG guild number 2731. We also tweet over on Twitter. I tweet under at MHGameGuys.
I am Zach _MHGG, and Jeff is Jeff _MHGG.
Indeed. We have an Instagram at MHGameGuys, Facebook.com/MHGameGuys. Our website, milehighgameguys.com, where you can find links to things like that aforementioned BGG guild, as well as our Slack channel, where we have all kinds of ridiculous conversations. Right now, the sports channel is an even mix of Paul and I watching UFC once or twice a month, and me raving about Marble Olympics 2 times a week. So, yeah, exciting stuff. And you can join that, like I said, over there on the website. All of our episode posts have those links at the bottom of them. You can also watch Mile High Dungeon Delvers every other Tuesday on our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/MHGameGuys. I have occasionally done a video game stream over there, and at some point we will actually get back to playing real board games. Sometime. I don't know. Who knows what's going to happen with COVID? Every time I'm like, oh, we can start playing in person again. It's like, oh, the numbers are going back up. So who knows? We will see. But yeah, plenty of ways to get in touch with us and to follow us and to check out our content, which we definitely always appreciate. Speaking of appreciation, big shout out to our sponsors, Gray Fox Games, for sponsoring this episode as they sponsor all of the Wednesday podcast episodes. You can still get in on some pre-orders for their latest Kickstarter for Science, the little interesting dexterity game where you design cures, build cures, and then research cures to stop deadly viruses from destroying the world. Something that, again, seems very, very, very fitting in the current climate.
Yes, it does.
Jeff is not here, so I don't have a prepared statement. But Zach, I hear your keyboard clacking away in the background. Are you preparing a statement?
No.
Okay.
I mean, I'm looking, but I don't I probably should have been looking a little bit farther. So I'm just gonna say no. Unfortunately, I don't have one.
So our statement is that Jeff needs to come back so we can have prepared statements for our Gray Fox Games segment. Gray Fox Games, quality games, cleverly crafted. Jeff, hurry back. The show needs you. You are the glue that holds us all together.
Yep.
That sounded vaguely like something that would be said in Metal Gear, right? Sure. We're going to go with it. But yeah, that wraps up everything for tonight's episode. So thanks everybody for listening in. Next week, if we are still sans Jeff, we're not really sure how long he'll be gone, but if he is still gone, we will be joined by someone else from the local crew. So it will be back to being a trio of people remotely podcasting together in Denver. Until that time, Until that time, I've been your host, Adrian.
And I'm still Zach.
Bye.
Bye.
Punchboard Media, where we all
bring something
to the table.
Pull up a chair
at punchboardmedia.com.